tell the young ladies they should save the sex, and tell the young guys not to break their neck for the place of sex, but get the paycheck. And real women really don't play that. A wise lesson learned really, really way back. I used to okay that. The Lord saved me, Jack, from a life of whack. Come on.
Into the black light, exit the madness.
Oh!
Yeah. Into the black light, exit the madness. You into the black.
You might want to start paying attention on this next verse.
You into the black light, exit
Give me your attention for a minute. Damn. Come on. We from the same cut, but playing different positions. A top secret message got the president attention. Do what you do, just make the good folk listen. And trust me, yo, it's not about who you kissing. There is a plan to see you chewed up and shit out. The devil's burning red from the fire that we spit out. We on the get up, the hell with that down low. Cherish the gift of the wisdom that we found, yo. Still on the mission with the daily agenda. Your head's been cloudy, so I doubt you to remember that I walk with the king of kings beside me. Just like the root in India, I read. I volunteer, know the Lord didn't hire me. It is the spirit that inspired me. Water of life to show the chief where the fiery. We have no time for those that be acting grimy.
Yeah, I get it.
You see the light now? Boy, I've been talking to y'all for a while. You see, you thought this was for like some type of game. Man, revolution. Yeah. When you free your mind, your ass will follow. That's for real. And some of y'all locked up so bad, don't nobody have to put chains on you. Hell, you chain yourself down mentally, spiritually. Come on, free your mind, dude. You a king. Free your mind, chick. You a queen. Let me get something with some feel to it, some funk to it. Come on. I think I like that. Can we get some heavy drums in there? More like Caribbean, Caribbean. Yeah. Yes, bounce to this. I'm just a black man, title, yo, you give me that. I like them imports, never push the Cadillac. And what you figure, Mr. Man, while you're kicking back with sick plans to get you stacked, making chickens fat. You know you into that, chilling with your timber cat. Intoxicated to the point, past sinful acts. Be very nimble, Jack, or Jill will get a water back. And have your heart broke just like a heart attack. Look where your power at, no, not the Mido cats. It's deeper than tats and hurricanes and old maps. The spirit flows, so my folks throw daps. Meant for the wise as well as the spoiled brats. So you can fold up or either you can fold back. I hold no judgment over those that have chose crack. Terror over habit that has been proven to hold back. With God on your side, you can get your soul back. Yeah. We need some 3 parts on this, man. What's up? I can't carry my boys at chorus. Come on, line up. Yo, I'm gonna need y'all 3-part harmony on this. I don't know how you gonna work it out, but work it out. Hope you can see by the end of the night how deep this music is. What is it, proud of the man to gain the world and lose your soul? Hope you can see by the end of the night how deep this music is. What is it, proud of the man to gain the world and lose your soul? Into the room, you feel a certain doom. You might lose your hearing from the sonic boom. Out of the mouth is a sword and I'm taking you out. You try to stop me and I'm faking you out. Man, I wish I had an apprentice to build this work. Collaborate on synthesis. And I hope you remember this. Keep your enemy near to you. Far away, keep those that are dear to you. I hate beer, but I used to drink the brew. heavily into the little habit turned deadly. I used to have a bud every day and all week, intoxicated to the point where I couldn't hardly speak. So through the knowledge, that means hold your head, let the past stay dead, and keep a level head, and don't be misled. Remember most of what I said. I'm hot like times in a rock, but you got us hot from working on the block.
By the end of the night, how deep this music is. What does it rob the man to gain the world and lose your soul? Hope you can see by the end of the night how deep this music is. What does it rob the man to gain the world and lose your soul?
Mike's handed, I'm speaking candid. Understand this is the way that the masses demand it. I have wisdom, but God planned it. General media banned it. I blow flows on beaches and make you wonder where the sand went. The Taliban spent more times in design to destroy cities. My rhymes inspire minds. I'm known as Big Papa, but I ain't your daddy yet. But I could be your bro if you could get the concept. There be many that stand whenever I rip, but it's devastation whenever I rip. I spit flows that hit like mouth on tits, straight legit. You fake rappers need to understand that felonies, gunfights and drugs don't make a true MC. And I will do more than talk this talk. I will defiantly walk this walk. There's no need to spaz. Your nose bleeding while I'm beating your ass. You in the cesspool.
Hope you can see by the end of the night how deep this music is. What does it rob the man to gain the world and lose the soul? Hope you can see by the end of the night how deep this music is.
I can't believe you have 94 degrees. What?
Ancient tiny secret now.
Yes. Did you not pay attention in your history class? Partner, wake up. Partner, wake up.
Too hot for you, huh?
Partner, wake up, son. It is written that it's nothing new under the sun. Nothing new.
I left it open. You just sat there. It's too hot for you.
So take your position. Don't you know you are part of that scripture, yo? Yo, you've been getting in the way and let you knock you down. Yes, but we gon' bring the light, yeah. A Max P production, baby. You know what it is. Listen, I'm known to tell you to fight back. There's no need to sell crack just to live fat. Why don't black superstars simply give back when they know it's a struggle just to live black? Can you picture that, Mr. Aristocrat? I'm coming from the bottom, rising to the top, and conscious is the tone on the CDs I drop. I won't flip-flop like a black bass, but I will put a message in the song before I hook your ass. See, we first-class living, worse than slaves of the earlier days, when we adapted the ways of the slave master. I stand upon it, the fairy rock which put your people in bondage just to get 100. The big face kind, and it don't matter if it's making people lose their freaking mind. That's why I'm speaking mine, hopefully to change yours, to pull you out of these streets from these drugs and strange whores. Huh.
Is there love out there? Is anybody care? Is there love out there?
It's like we died inside, no longer having pride. We're still for rides, a new skill to hide. And like the red tide, go and get our heads dyed. Rebel against the laws in the cities we reside. Sleep the circumstance, though our eyes open wide. Fail to coexist, let alone coincide. Eat chicken many ways, but prefer it fried. Like your man on death row when his relatives cried. His death a mistake because somebody lied. And we can only pray that Christ is by his side. Convicted on the statement implied with no proof. Now will the warden cry that he killed another youth? I truly doubt it, that's why we stay in the booth. Just cause it ain't enough, we should demand and show proof. And if they overlook our voices, then we raise the roof. Which one of y'all do? People are seeing that I'm feeling I'm a slave, maybe slave. Yo, man, you made a serious mistake, slave. But slave to me, homie. Slave to the system. Yeah. Sound like a winner right there. Come on.
A slave to the system, then I broke free. Although I may not be with, I wanna see my folk free. A slave to the system, then I broke free. Although I may not be with, I wanna see my folk free. A slave to the system, then I broke free. Although I may not be with, I wanna see my folk free. A slave to the system, then I broke free. Although I may not be with, I wanna see my folk free.
Hold up a minute, fam, let me ask you this. Did your last promotion offer you an ass to kiss? Hashtag for this. I know a better way, a many honest plea. Wonder why you bastard shit. Your heart's got to be right to make it from here. For animosity and hate, you can place it here. No time for pity. We're partying all the way. No time to be the victim. We got a call to take. Keep it square and watch God fall the fake. A linebacker reads well before they call the play. Hoping you all would say, hoping we all would pray. Invest a little bit of time in a tall day. Forget the ball and play. We got stakes in Israel with much more beef than the shawl can say. Now that's the scholar's way. No lust for the closet throwbacks. In fact, give them all away.
A slave to the system, then I broke free. Although I may not be with, I wanna see my folk free. A slave to the system, then I broke free. Although I may not be with, I wanna see my folk free. A slave to the system, then I broke free. Although I may not be with, I wanna see my folk free. A slave to the system, then I broke free. Although I may not be with, I wanna see my folk free.
Inside my circles of D-bows and little Urkels and Nino Brown types with no remorse. If they hurt you, many out to take you. Plotting schemes for your paycheck. And no, I'm not a snitch just because I come and say that. Look, dude, I don't play that. When my boy Tilo was killed, you know you saw me on the news. If you choose to look way back, so stay back. I'm militant like Osama, intelligent like Obama. And you can ask your mama, no need to wonder. I'm like the 10th one under the commission of the author of life. When I was younger, I would do what a thug would tend to do. And if you got the last lick, quickly remember you. Our lives change, but still things remain the same. Slave masters got these brothers' brains and chains. Yo, I'm feeling your pain. Down and out in life, saying your prayers, but not seeing the change. We in the sin age.
A slave to the system, then I broke free. Although I may not be with, I wanna see my folk free. A slave to the system, then I broke free. Although I may not be with, I wanna see my folk free. A slave to the system, then I broke free. Although I may not be with, I wanna see my folk free. A slave to the system, then I broke free. Although I may not be with, I wanna see my folk free.
Indigenous resistance. Warrior spirit. TRU Island. This is for my peoples. Strong. Too much debate, too much hate, too much faking, too much grand staging, too much handshaking, too much land taking, too much manipulating, too much you can but you snaking, too much of a friend yeah you stuck through Nathan. Complain too much instigating, too much insinuating, you too much of an Asian. Celebrities too, heavenly bodies got you stargazing, dilated peoples, stark amazement, top chart chasing, your heart racing, spellbound, too much dark sayings, am I? Saying too much in my paint can graffiti art, spraying too much to spark in the dark basement day, breaking too much, these mobs operate, too much ego, way too much for me, yo. Now with all the fake check-ins, either you're from the soil or you're not. And this ain't even a half. They displace you engine, replace you engine, erase you through paper, send a shy engine land session agreements, a fake space. Fuel engine change, days to purposely displace you engine. And shouting, tax you on your own. Land engine, you a child, not a grown woman, a grown man engine. In fact, you black, lit person in all caps on the contracts. Legal fiction, non-living show. Damn engine, how long will you let them debase you, deface you? On an engine, no one is coming to save you. A great new world awaits you, engine. They intend to continue to rape and enslave you bound to a rebase of religion.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? 15 minutes in, I had the door open and it's so hot. It got up to about 92 degrees in here. I know it's the hurricane still beating around the Gulf and everything like that. I don't look at the news or nothing, so I'd rather ask you guys, especially you who live in Texas, around that area. So it was so hot, and even though he's an indoors cat, I let him outside to tough up in his paws, right? It's so hot. I go outside barefoot. Even I put my socks and my shoes on, and my feet are strong. They look good, but they're strong. But and that's hot. And I've been sitting up in here where the back screen to the patio door is open, so it's and that window was cracked. It's nice and cool. You know what I mean? So no sweating, just it's warm. Fans on, I'm cool. He sat by that door, look, and he kept getting up, looking back at me like, "Fool, you gonna show me which way to run to the shade?" Because usually I'll run to the shade, and he'll look, he'll put a paw down, and then he'll take off to the shade and be like, "Yes." And then coming back, he'll sit there for 5 minutes before he get up the courage to run on that hot, you know what I'm saying, concrete to get back into the house. And when he gets in, he goes right to the carpet, right to the, what you call it, with the back thing open, and he sits right there because there's a nice little breeze where the trees are. So I just closed it and turned the AC on so it get a little cool because I know he's hot. He's laying on his scratch box, you know, the little cardboard accordion boxes you put the catnip in. They just go crazy and cardboard everywhere, worse than kitty litter. And he's laying on it now, rolling in the kitty litter. Oh my goodness. But anyway, so I was like, let me chill out because I ate my steak. I ate a few eggs. I made about several. I want to eat 7 a day, 2 steaks, and then have my watermelon. You know what I'm saying? I haven't even sliced. I sliced it, but I haven't cut it up. So you saw me drinking Mighty Watermelon, which I got from Sprouts. It's different from the one they have at Safeway. It's bigger. It's cheaper. So anyway, so let me share this. A lot of you know when I was talking about what they call the sand devils. And you're very aware that, well, first of all, Twitter founder Jack Dorsey, and the proliferation of fake content in the next 5-10 years will mean we won't know what is real anymore, and it will feel like living in a simulation. Well, who's behind it? It's not us. Half our people have been living a lie, and you wonder how. Well, what I tell you about wars and breaking up a family, and I expressed that it started around 1875. There was a deal made, and we're talking about 10 years after they murdered Lincoln, who was a Negro. That's why I told everybody to watch Holiday Inn. I've been telling people that since I was in high school. Yo, y'all gotta check out Ben Cosby movie. Because I saw it on the weekend. My papa was like, boy, y'all get down here. You know what I'm saying? Nighttime, George Knight. Chuck Berry's good friend. My grandpa, right? Y'all get down here. He said in a deep, he's Siksika, real Siksika. He used to laugh, talking about, I don't know who these pale skin people think this. Anyway, he was born in 1800. So anyway, we sat down in front of the fireplace. Remember, I always had 2 round things in the back, and they had to build a chimney. They had to build it because that's not how fireplaces work. They didn't work by burning coal and wood and oil. And they had just got done when we moved in there putting in the oil furnace that looked like a Frankenstein head, going up to each floor. It was big. We used to have to go down there and throw something in there and light it with those long matches. I told you when I was a kid, my mama attempted to put between my toes when I was taped to the chair and set us on fire with the gas up and on. Excuse me. And I watched it when I was a youngling. I wasn't even like 10 years old, 11 years old, I think. And I already knew who we were because, we never used the terms black and all that other stuff. We never used that. We knew who we were. You know what I mean? And never heard anything out of African America except for when my Uncle John Amos played Roots. And we was like, yo, he getting a paycheck, yo. It was like big time. He's getting a paycheck. But then people started buying into it, and it became part of a curriculum to which was never there. I should know. I went to school. We had history. You know what I'm saying? And we were learning about this fake Christopher Columbus, General Lee. I was like, That ain't General. That's my great uncle. Like, that's not General Lee. You know what I'm saying? No wonder they had no problem taking out the statues. But in order to build up a white supremacy, you know what it is. Now, when I was overseas and I learned about the Desert Devils, these people left out of what you would call Lower Africa, somewhere in mid over there, millions, if not billions. And they were stark raving mad. They were a mixture of individuals. Now, who has the biggest family? Coming from Yaphet, right? Yes, the biggest family. The biggest relatives, brothers and sisters from Yaphet, by way of Gomer. Ton of them. We only had a handful. Ham, a handful. You know what I'm saying? And what's funny is people don't know that Khazar means nomadic, roamers. They have no place. And they're a mixture. That's why they were the original Arabs. There was no such thing as an Arab. That's new history. And the Georgia Willing factor spit is fixed. But as you see, like what y'all also see with Wikipedia, remember when they freed it up where you can comment and change stuff? That is what they've been pushing towards. All right? And the reason why? In order to establish a new world order, you must change the old one. And this is what they're doing. So when I tell y'all they're Jews, it doesn't mean they're Judean or they're Semitic. It's the lie. It's scripted. Now in the last 2 years, they've been attempting to fake everybody. So let me read this article to you right quick, and then we'll get into reading. Let me read this article for you. I was laughing when I read it. Am I going to comment on it? I'm not going to waste my time with them monkeys. Please. Okay. Let me let it. Because whenever I go to something, it takes a moment to load all back up. Seriously. Which is fine by me. Doesn't stop anything. Okay. Okay. Don't ask for the cookies, huh? So, this is the, obviously, Institute for Strategic Dialogue, Digital Dispatches, ISD's blog for the latest in data-driven research on hate, disinformation, and extremism. Who pushes disinformation? The people who lie and create all the problems in the world. Isn't that right? An anti-Semitic conspiracy. Now, we already know who developed the word anti-Semitic to quiet the people. 19 what was that created? 19 what? 39? 37, 38? Anyway, just threw it out there, and so they ran with it. So we know that there's no conspiracy theory, and we know the CIA, who's ran by the same bastards, created that. You can't have a theory without a conspiracy. And if you have a conspiracy, it's based on a theory. The theory means that you're thinking, and you're coming up with this compilation of compiled information that you can point to show that a conspiracy exists based off of your theory. And then once you find out the conspiracy exists, it's relegated back to the theory that unmasked it. So the CIA is not too damn bright, except for most people are dumb. Anyway, this is by Lee Gerster, obviously one of them. This dispatch explores how the anti-Semitic Khazarian mafia, which is real, conspiracy theory is being directed at the war in Ukraine. So what? Isn't Zelensky a Jew? I know 5 so-called Jews from New York who was reported to me went to fight for Ukraine. And then when I was watching Funkmaster and about several other YouTube channels with the Foreign Legion in Ukraine, who you think's talking? A whole bunch of Jews. Swama, and all that other stuff. That's not even their language. Okay? Surprisingly, the Navy SEALs and all of them, the Jewish ones, converts, they run over, they're the ones betraying everybody, going to certain countries, teaching, showing this, that, and other. Now, we've had Chinese Special Forces guys go back to China. All they were double agents. Oh, well, the government should have knew better. Wouldn't have got away with it in the French Foreign Legion, but you got to remember who's running the government. So anyway, it outlines how a lack of historic sources on the Khazar Empire, there's plethora, and there's many of them who have actually been speaking, hundreds of books by them, empire, and a highly contested hypothesis about Ashkenazi Jews have inspired Ashkenazi. If you read the damn Bible, if you're told to it, but this shows you how sick they are anyway, have inspired anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that are now being weaponized against Ukraine. Well, they're based upon a fact. The research predominantly focuses on German language, far right, and conspiracy telegram channels. However, and the Germans should know, however, some of the content discussed was shared from English language sources or translated to German from other languages, like any major crisis in the digital age crisis. Russia's invasion of Ukraine, they didn't invade Ukraine. That is a goddamn lie. Somewhat. They were pushed. You've got 10 CIA outposts across the border of Ukraine and Russia. So, and it's well known that, and they shared that, what, a handful of months ago, that you have ODA, you have Delta Force operators, and obviously it's not all of them, because most of them would partake in that bullshit, unless they're too stupid, and they're calling themselves African Americans and everything else, but who've actually been over there and they're fighting, just like you saw with ISIS. It was surprising to find pale skinned people with U.S. Army tattoos, you know, blown to pieces, amongst the ISIS fighters. And some would say, well, what? And they couldn't wait to hide that. I mean, think about it. All the information is coming out about the IDF and the fact that Hezbollah was trained by them and given more money to subjugate the people. How does that work? Sounds like these Negro movements here in the old world, where most of these so-called black folk, African American, can't get their head right. So conspiracy theories about the Khazars. Conspiracy theories about the Khazars, a semi-nomadic Turkic people who established a major empire, Khazaria, between Eastern Europe and Western Asia in the Middle Ages, have been spread in conspiratist right-wing extremists. You know who's pushing this? The dumb idiot liberal Jews, because as you know, this is not no democracy. Everything could be raised, even if this place was called, could be nurtured, even if this place was called Mexico. But it's the government that creates the division and creates the civil wars, to which there hasn't really been one other than Uganda and all them places. And the real one they want to happen here. The war before that was not a civil war. It was us fighting them bastards, encroaching, sending waves with their hybrid mixed bastard children in. I'm not saying that with hate. It's just the reality. And those who could pass for us. Anyway, has been present in several narratives. Okay, hold on, excuse me, let me get back to the, what's called. Western Asian have been spread in conspiracies, right-wing extremists and Islamic communities. Hell, they made the Klan communities online prior to the current conflict. However, given that Khazaria spanned modern-day southeastern Russia, southern Ukraine, Crimea, the Crimean War was the actual first to start all this shit off, and Kazakhstan, they have acquired distinct geographic relevance amidst the war in Ukraine. Yes, there are fake Jew Muslims, Catholics, Christians, and we already read that when we were reading Facts of Fact, and you know what Arthur Kessler had to say. And what he said was so bad, they had to suicide him and his wife, you know, at the dinner table or something. I forget how they did it. Okay, now the Khazars became a popular talking point among conspiracy theorists due to the claim that the Khazar people, or at least their elites, converted to Judaism en masse during the 8th century. Everyone knows that's real. That would be the 1800s people, not the fake 8th century they made. Okay. Now the other thing I wanted to lay on, I told you about the Desert Devils, how they would literally go, and they started with the remnants of Atlanteans, and they started with the Ethiopians and the real people of Italy. And yes, they did. They sure did. And they would actually rob these people, murder them, take on their identities because they were kind of brown and fair-skinned, like the rest of the world. The thing is, they would go in and they would murder and they would sacrifice their children, because who established at the statue of the bull, the Baal, where the financial center is, and the one in Louisiana with them dumb niggers always dancing around it like they're doing something worthwhile. The one in Florida. Oh, y'all didn't know that these bull bronze statues that look kind of are, yeah. Bohemian Grove is not fictional. If you search well enough for the videos of old homosexuals who are still alive, who have no problem with telling their story. Some of them probably don't want to tell it because they really enjoyed what they did. And they got to see some of that Hollywood, you know, magic. Cannibals. Yet, what do they want to do? Dismiss their true story to hide themselves because they believe they're in control of the narrative. They are not. They are nowhere near, or indeed at all, in control of anything. If you think that, even by me saying it, dispose of it. Know that they have no control whatsoever, except for over idiots. But too dumb to realize that. Who, I guess, like people like being rubbed, having women and men, on them and rubbing it all around. That is some freaky stuff. But anyway, right? You get people like that could do anything, as long as they can have their scat parties. Okay? These individuals are sick. So obvious, as you heard the name, who's going to be dismissive of it? Because it ain't going to be you and I who know better. Why don't y'all look deeper into the punch bowl and all the people who were running the fire departments at the periods of time between the 430, 39, and the 60s, and even 70s, when our people being allowed to burn, and when they were medically from shock and a coma, allowing them expire in the hospitals when their lives could have been saved. And look at the numbers, because they messed with it. Y'all still trying to play nice, and I don't know why. I know y'all not running out, learning how to clear houses and clear rooms and do all those things. I know most of you think up here that you haven't really tapped into are ready to do anything, when the majority of you really ain't hard hitters. I don't care what you did in your little community and neighborhood. Y'all not really hard hitters. And you might say, well, you down on me. When I see you, I'll probably knock you out if you come wrong. I'm not advocating violence, but I'm speaking of friggin' fact, because I'm very calm about it. And I give off that energy. Why? Because my confidence, I don't need to regulate. I stay calm no matter what. And when I read you, then I act accordingly. Okay? I'm not playing tough guy. I'm speaking on what I know, not what I don't know now right here. And these bastards have created a problem where you got goofies in Texas and everywhere else singing, I'm 19, 20-year-old and 30, I'm the gangster and I've been locked up and weird. I got stabbed a couple times because they're all dumb. There's no more of the old school guys who can educate them. And yet there are those who come out and say, look, man, it's not the way. There's no need for it. And better themselves. But what happens when they better themselves? They become obedient slaves instead of out of line, emotionally unstable slaves. And the POW camps created by the very system, created by, what was Henry Kissinger in there for? Remember I expressed to you, they bought him in because they threatened the individual. And so they put a person who was not in his position to do what he's been doing. In his book, you see how in his book, Henry Kissinger's book, you see how he feels about veterans? Nobody's making this up, right? But then they have Goyim and they spew it all over. They spit on Christians and Muslims and everything else. Nobody wants to see it because everybody wants to remain blind like it's beneficial. It's funny how you can make everybody ignorant and have damn near 7 billion people acting like little shit sticks fighting each other. Real funny, Anyway, let's get into reading. We're going to go to Facts of Facts. And this is by Benjamin H. Friedman, for those who have purchased the book. Okay? I know it's been a while, so what? Start donating, get some more books in. I have no problem. I enjoy reading. I read to myself all day. And break things down with a deeper understanding. So this right here is Benjamin Friedman speaks, the Jewish defective warns America, as y'all know, and then he goes into his letter that he, excuse me, he's in gas. I'm trying to remember Benjamin, what's his name? Dr. Goldstein's whole name. There he goes, right here. So this is a letter, special delivery, that's directed towards Dr. David Goldstein, who's an LLD. All right? Now, he became a Christian. I'm not saying. When you condition them to religion, and you got to remember, most of these Jewish people, they have parties where they are wine and dine, and they eat with their hands to hold on to a savage-like nomadic mentality. And they literally will eat with their hands like animals, even fight. And they're all studying the Talmud, doing their things. You don't get to see this. No, while you're sitting there telling your children, put the knives and forks and spoons, or eat that chemical cereal, let me give you this worthless ass oatmeal, messing your children and your grandbabies up, feeding them garbage instead of popping that titty in them up because you took care of yourself and giving them Similac and Enfamil and all that other crap that is 100 times more toxic than cereal. Yet they've convinced you the same way they've convinced everybody about the world lies that they live in. So let's go ahead and pick it up. Now, I'm not going back there. You go back to the videos and remind yourselves and have a recall, and then you'll know exactly where we're at. When you studied Latin in your school days, you were taught that the letter I in Latin was used as the first letter in a word, is pronounced like the letter Y, I-Y. In English, when it is the first letter in words like yes, youth, and yacht, the I in luteus, or iudius, iudius, is pronounced like the Y. So instead of iudius, it would be udius. Excuse me. And yes, youth and yacht in English. In all the 4th century, the 18th century forms the 18th century Jew. The letter I, okay, was pronounced like the English Y in yes, youth and yacht. Yacht. You hear that? Instead of, you know what I'm saying? You hear that? Yes, youth, yacht, okay? The same is true of the GI or G or the GY, which would be G, where it was used in place of the letter I. Now, the present pronunciation of the word Jew in modern English is a development of recent times. In the English language today, the J in Jew is pronounced like the J in the English, like it's in justice, justipose, just us, just ice, not Jack, but J. You see what I'm saying? Not J, but J. Okay? I hope this is helping you. Okay? Or in the English, justice, hot, jolly, and jump. This is the case only since the 18th century. Did we just hit on a little T? Prior to the 18th century, the J in Jew was pronounced exactly like the Y in the English yes, youth, yacht, until the 18th century, and perhaps even because they were attempting to steal our identity called Judeans, but we killed so many of them. All mixed, so there's plenty more. They're all over the place, playing you and everything else. In the 18th century, and perhaps even later than the 18th century, the word Jew in English was pronounced like the English you or hue. And the word Jews, like yous, are hues. The present pronunciation of Jew in English is a new pronunciation acquired after the 18th century. It ain't Paleo-Hebrew, it's nothing. It's made up, it's garbage. The German language still retains the Latin original pronunciation. The German's Jude is the German equivalent of the English Jew. The J in the German Jude is pronounced exactly like the English Y, and yes, youth and yacht. The German J is the equivalent of the Latin I, and both are synonymous, right? No, that's not what it says. Both are pronounced exactly like the English Y. And yes, youth and yacht. Now the German Jude or Jude is virtually the first syllable of the Latin luteus or iudius, and is pronounced exactly like it. Now the German Jude is the German contraction and corruption of the Latin iudius, just as the English Jew. Now what does iudius sound familiar with as far as the Roman Empire? Is the contraction and corruption. Now listen to this. Iudius, just as the English Jew, is the contraction and corruption of the Latin iudius. The German J is always pronounced like the English Y in yes, youth and yacht, when it is the first letter of a word. Now the pronunciation of the J in German, Jude, is not an exception to the pronunciation of the J in German. So it'd be J as in Jude. Now, the English language, as you already know, my dear Dr. Goldstein, is largely made up of words adopted from foreign languages. How long have I been saying this? I was getting in fights in high school telling them this language is a garbage language and it has our language in it, And they said, boy, they used to tell me I was crazy. Now, I wouldn't say that Miss Winston. I don't think I would have never made it home. I think Mr. Winston would have lynched me, okay? In elementary. In elementary. Middle school, I went to where Buzz Aldrin and a whole lot of other NFL. You know, I went to Mount Heber. For those who don't know, you can look it up. Yes, we were being groomed, okay? But I'm different. Anyway, the English language, as you already know, my dear Dr. Goldstein, is largely made up of words adopted from foreign languages. After their adoption by the English language, foreign words were then adapted by contracting their spelling and corrupting their foreign pronunciations to make them more easily pronounced in English from their English spelling. This process of first adopting foreign words and then adapting them by contracting the spelling and corrupting their pronunciations, spells people, resulted in such new words in the English language as cab, from the French cabriolet, and many thousands of other words similarly from their original foreign spelling. Hundreds of others must come to your mind. Now, by this adapting process, the Latin iudius or iudius and the Greek iodius or idios finally emerged in the 18th century as Jew. In the English language, they were making up their own fucking identity. The English-speaking people struggled through 14 centuries, seeking to create for the English language an English equivalent for the Latin iudius and the Greek iodius, which could be easily pronounced in English from its English spelling. Now, English Jew was the resulting 18th century contracted and corrupted form of the Latin iudius, and the Greek iodius. And the English Jew is easily pronounced in English from its English spelling. Now, the Latin iudius and the Greek iodius cannot be, or iudius, if you want to say that. I'm going to use the I as it is, to corrupt its fake, fraudulent meaning. Cannot be easily pronounced in English from the Latin and Greek spelling. They were forced to coin a word. Now, iodius, it sounds like Jew, does it? The earliest version of the New Testament in English from the Latin Vulgate edition of the Wycliffe edition, Wycliffe John, published in 1380 in the Wycliffe, and you see they didn't say 3rd century. Wouldn't that make more sense? Wycliffe edition, Jesus is there mentioned as one of the Ius or Jews. As you know, he was Judean, Rex, leader, not king. That a man capable of many things. That to remind people what they were capable of. That was the 14th century English version of the Latin iudius and was pronounced Hewweez. I can't pronounce it. I think. Hewweez or some shit. Some dumbass word. In the plural, and you pronounced HEW-WEE. Yes, y'all. Seriously. Whatever the fuck. In the singular, in the 1380th Wycliffe edition in English, the Gospel by John, all right, 19 reads, Isis of Nazareth, king of the Jews, and you know it was not no king. So you know they made a bunch of shit up, right? INRI, Pontius Pilate, who was a Negro. Prior to the 14th century, it was not somebody floundering around living in some bull crap Hollywood narrative of Egypt, Rome, and all that made up nonsense. Anyway, prior to the 14th century, the English language adopted the Anglo-Saxon king, K-Y-N-G, king, together with many other Anglo-Saxon words in place of the Latin rex, and the Greek basileus. And the Anglo-Saxon also meant tribal leader. In the Tyndale edition of the New Testament in English, published in 1525, see, we're not getting that 5 and 3, you know, they're being a little scripturally honest as far as the narrative of how they made this crap. Yeshua, or Jesus, was likewise described as one of the Jews in the Cordell edition, published in 1535, to which we know he was not a Jew. Jesus was also, and that's not his name. was also described as one of the Jews in the Coverdale. Everything has been rewritten, right? Fabricated, made the fuck up, okay? Used in the Craner edition published in 1539. When did King James come here and leave after 6 years and was murdered? I think he left around 1511. So anyway, Yeshua was again described as one of the Jews. In the Geneva edition published in 1540 and 1555, Jesus was also described as one of the Jews. In the Rams edition published in 1582, Jesus was described as one of the Levi, the IEBBS. That's another way of pronouncing it. I'm not going to give it no energy. In the King James edition published in 1604-1611, also known as the Authorized Version, Jesus was described again as one of the Jews. The forms of the Latin Iudius were used, which were current at the time these translations were made. Now, the translation into English of the Gospel by John 19 from the Greek in which it was originally written reads, "Do not inscribe the monarch of the Judeans, but that he himself said, I am monarch." In the original Greek manuscript, the Greek Basileus appears for monarch. In the English and the Greek Iudius appears for Judeans. Yodeos. Oh, I can't pronounce it, but it's Loudai, So you can figure it out and go and transliterate or have it, or like Laos, or Laie or Os. So anyway, appears for Judeans. In the English, Judea in Greek is Judea. In English, Judeos, in Greek is Judeans. In English, there is no reason for any confusion. Jews are not us. My dear Dr. Goldstein, the generally accepted understanding today of the English Jew and Judean conveyed the identical implications, interferences, and innuendos as both rightly should. It would make no difference which of these two words was used when referring to Yeshua in the New Testament or elsewhere. But the implications, interferences, and innuendos today conveyed by these two words are as different as black is from white. Now, the word Jew today is never regarded as a synonym for Judean, nor is Judean regarded as a synonym for Jew. Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle. I'll stop right there, because I can read this nonstop, y'all. I mean, we'd be halfway through this book. If I sat here, I would just keep going. Seriously. He was tired of these. He was tired of his own fake people. He knows they're not who they say they are. You dig? It's pretty powerful, ain't it? Now, so y'all know why I read like that, and then I go into stuff like this, exposing the expositions. 1851 to 1950. Now, my grandmother was a teen teaching these New Age Indians how to be Indian. First of all, they forgot who they were. She was like, they don't even know who they are. But they had old enough children to help, and a lot of them, as you found out, were murdered because they didn't want to keep up. They wanted to go back home. And what the Catholic, these venerated fake Jews do, they were murdering them. If you're not going to help us with your people, we'll get rid of you and we'll create a whole new identity. And that's what they did. And now they're running around butt crazy thinking it's everybody's land. It's earth. But it's not what they think. And when they start claiming things and profaning things, that they had nothing within creation. And that's where they mess up. So let's go ahead and get into this. Now, this is Heidi Mikowski's 2021 revised edition from his 2019. Go ahead and get the 2019 one if you want to go ahead. Have a deeper understanding of what he did, and for those who like to research stuff, to go find more information. Now, there's a plethora more, but he gives all the email sites that you go and look at all these pictures. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Picking it up from the mud flood. This is now a catch-all word to describe what seems to be a period of recent cataclysms, mostly focused on the 1800s, especially the period around my apologies. This is Court of Honors, Chicago, which they call another one of the white cities, to create a fake white superiority, to which no such people as white existed. They say 16, 17, no, even up into the 1700s, the late 1700s, when they first started kidnapping children sacrificed, some real stuff. And the first Hollywoods in Italy came over to New Jersey or New York or whatever, and then found its way to California. Y'all should know the migration of that, where children were just coming up in those cities. These liberal hotbeds, children were coming up missing like crazy back then. Research it, okay? Let's get back into reading. This is now a catch-all word to describe what seems to be a period of recent cataclysms, mostly focused on the 1800s, especially the periods around 1812 and 1850. But might go back to the 15 or 1600s. Now, many take the term literally to only refer to giant floods that left cities buried in mud. And this can be supposed from old photographs of buildings and cities literally sunk down in mud, and from many buildings from the period that still exists today that seem to have their lower stories partway underground, which is not how you would build. Now, what y'all don't know is, and I'm going to share this, I think I mentioned it before, we had hoses. There was a way of cutting through rock. We had that. And they were using it to create mud floods and bury half towns and cities until they realized they can redirect dams. And by us constructing certain things to help power certain things in their small little places, to actually destroy and flood ours in the midst of night and keep moving. And he's pale skinned, so he's not going to go that far as studying, okay? Which is not how you would build. Anyway, buildings from the period that still exists today that seem to have their lower stories partway underground, which is not how you would build. Our doors that require many stairs up to reach, when just below is what appears to be a similar door, but now far below still street level. There are thousands of photos on the internet, and I suggest, if this is a new term for you, to go and take a look at some of them. Really try to explain logically now what you see. And another feature of these photographs of the late 1800s are all the giant cathedrals and buildings built with the marble and other stone, but seeing no proper road was constructed to make getting the materials to building sites easier. There were dirt roads. And in certain cities we had cobblestone and red, because you know why? It was important to be grounded all the time. Even our shoes, we didn't have rubber soles. Hemp, well thick stitched. Anyway, building a site easier. Anyway, would that not be the first step of the building process? The 1800s city photographs are often spectacular buildings, besides all mud streets and people moving about with horse and buggy. How out of place can such buildings be? In my opinion, what the word mud flood really is pointing to is a period of disaster and chaos that came to the world during this time period. These may have been floods, or mud or water, earthquakes, volcanoes, fires, warfare, energy weapons, germ warfare, or whatnot. What does seem to be is that the period was recent, 200 or so years ago, and worldwide, which decimated both the cities and the population within them. This period seems to be connected to times of worldwide wars. Perhaps the wars were wars, okay? Or they may have been semi-staged events to explain the destruction and emptying of cities. While using soldiers to round up survivors, it seems hundreds of millions of people may have died off during this period of time. Now the questions are how and why. Nuclear weapons aren't new. Remember I was the one that told y'all about a Medusa weapon? And it seems like somebody found something somewhere, very recent. Maybe somebody listened and found something where it talks about in World War I or what's it, II, they said they used a weapon, Germans did or something, and it made everybody and all the vehicles turn into stone. And it was, I think it was a last of a one-off of many of a remnant of old. Just like in Siberia, where you have on the Russian, where you have the trees laid flat down. Nuclear weapons, why do you think they were coming here? And using their little pawns to gather up the uranium with their bare damn hands and put them in potato sacks to deliver them to these people in all these mines around here in Arizona and New Mexico. And are you aware that majority of the gold harvested in this world right now, ain't out of Africa, came from out of Carolina, which y'all call California. Prove me wrong. Anyway, let's get back to reading. I'm just saying. I'm going to throw a little stuff in there today. All right? So nuclear weapons are not new. As far as the narrative of what they call them, okay? Yeah. The period seems to be connected to 2 times of worldwide wars, perhaps the wars were wars, or they may have been semi-stage events to explain the destruction of emptying of cities, while using soldiers to round up survivors. You know what that means, right? Also, many major cities in the early stages of photography, 1860 to 80, seem to be photographed totally intact. But there are no people on the streets, be it St. Petersburg, San Francisco, Paris. They are all devoid of life. The cities are perfect condition with no construction of any kind happening. Not even a wall being painted somewhere. There is no people, no horses, no garbage flying around, no smoke from chimneys, nothing to indicate life. Like it is a photo of computer-generated city when we see in architectural plans. The standard claim for the lack of life was the long processing speed photography needed at this time, or would create blurring. Okay, that's bullcrap. So where is the blurring? And the pictures are fine, perfect. Or did they manage to send away the 250,000 people and horses and dogs and cats out of St. Petersburg for the day so they could take photos? And the same with photos of Toronto, Boston, Paris, Helsinki, Rome, or San Francisco from this time, all resulting in a complete, very lifeless city similar to the massive Chinese cities today that have been built but have no people living in them. Have y'all ever paid attention to a lot of cities in China, Vietnam, and all them places? They look like the houses and cities of old ancient here. And all they did was change them, build over them. And they did. To give them this new weird look that was shared in the World's Fair that didn't exist in the original paintings and mosaics. I've seen the structures in so-called China, or Cathay. Let me make sure we're going to start right there because the next one's going to be reset, and that's going to be a good one. It's getting kind of cool in here now, ain't it? And it says 80 degrees. I think I'm gonna turn the thing off. I don't like it. I don't like it cold though. I mean, I like cold water and all that kind of stuff, but I prefer to be in the heat. Now let's get to this bag of the Negro Project. Bruce Flaherty's, the Margaret Sanger's 5Ds. You know what I'm saying? The diabolical, the duplicitous, dangerous, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so this is forwarded by Ron Edwards. I'm not going to show you the book. It don't get no props here. Just pick it up right where we left off. APJR, what's going on, family? Jay Bond, what's happening? Alicia Cooper, Marcus Williamson. My apologies, guys. I shot you guys up. Y'all just popped up delusions. You know I got you, beloved. T. Hines, what's happening? Sharon O. Wilson, hey. I think I got everybody else, didn't I? Marcus William, yeah, I think I got you guys. Original Lone Wolf, what's going on, Mac? Jam Omni, Jam, what's happening? Max Big, what's going on, fam? Appreciate you. Jermaine, me and my wife been touring for about 5 months now. Can I have your yeah, it's right down there. You can donate any time. Turtle Island all day, beloved. But like I said, we call it Afriel. Craig, what's happening, family? All right, just pick it up, okay? Again, this is Margaret, the Negro Project. There exists a common misperception that the German eugenics program originated with the onset of Hitler's regime, with the onset, of Hitler's regime. But in reality, the sterilization of so-called unfit persons was promoted at least as far back as the First World War. A number of writers have commented on this subject, including author Gisela Bloch, who writes that by the end of that conflict, sterilization was widely and passionately viewed as a solution to urgent social problems. Now, Paul Wangling, and that's one of them, reveals that the emphasis on corrective sterilization predated the Third Reich and had been developed and lobbied for during the Weimar years. And some eugenic researchers were not happy about the new regime's actions. He cites one German geneticist, Richard Goldschmidt, German geneticist, as complaining that the Nazis took over our entire plan of eugenics measures. Go figure. Wendling elaborates further. The authoritarian politics provided favorable circumstances for eugenics to exert influence on social policy and the planning of sterilization legislation. Moreover, the Nazi policy of coercive sterilization, contrary to popular belief, was not a homegrown one. Far from it. In fact, it had lots of help. As stated earlier, Hitler read voraciously during his imprisonment and had taken a keen interest in the progress of the eugenics movement in the United States. So, by the time he was released in 1925, he was well versed in the subject. He spoke with particular pride on one fellow Nazi that, "I have followed with great interest the laws of several American states concerning prevention of reproduction by people whose progeny would in all probability be of no value or be injurious to the racial stock." Doing their best to get rid of the autochthonous original people. They knew they couldn't do it. That's why they had to make everybody wait. So everybody suffers because everybody in ignorance don't really know who you are. If they woke up and knew who you truly were, maybe some of these dumb peckerwoods, which they call themselves that, just like crackers, that's not a racial term, they did, because they were slaves. The 7 years they provided services in this new military attempting to conquer our people, looting, murdering, lynching, and they were given their freedom in our land, which they can never have. No one can ever own it. But until you know that, you'll keep moving quasi amongst the dead instead of coming among the living. Anyway, one state whose eugenic policy Hitler followed quite closely was California, which is actually Carolina, which led the United States in the number of forced sterilizations. The California law signed in 1909 by Governor James Gillette sought to reduce the number of social misfits, yes, a Jewish Frenchman, by sterilizing their parents, and read as follows: whenever, in the opinion of the medical superintendent of any state hospital or superintendent of the California Home for the Care and Training of Feeble-Minded Children, or of the resident physician in any state prison, it would be beneficial and conducive to the benefit of the physical, mental, or moral condition of any inmate of any said state hospital, home, or state prison to be sexualized. Then such superintendent or resident physician shall call in consultation for the general superintendent of state hospitals and the secretary of the state board of health, and they shall jointly examine into all the particulars of the case, with the said superintendent or resident physician. And if in their opinion or in the opinion of any of the two of them, sexualization will be beneficial to such inmate, patient, or convict, they may perform the same. Yes, that's what it was called. You would think that sexualization meant something good. As I'm sexual. No. Too deep. Okay? Now, as Alex Wellerstein writes in his book, States of Eugenics, whenever in the opinion is the crucial phase that defined the character of eugenics in California, operations were performed at the discretion of the superintendents. Also worth noting is that nowhere in the California law is the word sterilization mentioned. Rather, the procedure is called asexualization. Now, the use of such a euphemism could be argued would be rather like an abortion supporter using the phrase pro-choice to mask their real sentiments. It was this law and others like it around the country which would inspire Margaret Sanger's cohort Harry Laughlin, in crafting his proposed model eugenic sterilization law in 1922. Interestingly, Laughlin also helped get Congress to pass the Immigration Restriction Act 2 years later. Check that out. All right? And do you know why? Many of our people went south, place they originated from. And that's why they gave Chase, Roosevelt. And they didn't want nobody to come, they didn't want them to come back up to their homeland. I think they were smart, they would know this. They don't know none of this. These so-called natives. Interesting, Laughlin also helped get Congress to pass the Immigration Restriction Act 2 years later. This was the same law, the reader will recall, which Sanger was so vocal in citing when she opposed any increase in the number of Jews who were seeking to flee Hitler's Germany. Now, Wellerstein goes on to inform us that because California's original law was seen as being too vague, it was repealed in 1913 and replaced with a new, stronger sterilization mandate that allowed the State Department of Mental Hygiene, whose, in parentheses, whose precursors were the State Commission on Lunacy and the State Department of Institutions, these are new made-up terms, to sterilize a patient. And the first section of the 1913 statute, Wellerstein writes specific that the patient must be afflicted with hereditary insanity or incurable chronic mania or dementia. What does fucking war bring? What follows in section 2 when you don't have the bells, horns, toots, and everything else to bring balance and the benefit of all the natural things when you're still fighting? What follows in section 2, Wellerstein notes, is simply an exact duplicate of the 1909 statute, which enables sterilization at the discretion of physicians, with no further specifications, I call those duck dillers, of the kinds of reason that had to be given. Now, can you tell what some of your relatives who have no generations here went through, other than their cousins, like us? You cannot even imagine it. Well, if you look back to the 70s or 80s in Detroit, how those worthless ass doctors were taking sisters' uteruses who were going in there for simple surgeries and stuff. They literally were taking their uteruses out of them. And I was like, where's all these bad, tough men and deacons and everybody else to handle the situation? So it seems like we come from a generation that fought a war, but we're mostly punks and scary asses. Not all, but quite a bit of them. You dig what I'm saying? So let's go ahead and get in Mr. William Cooper's Behold a Pale Horse. Excuse me, let me change this up. Okay, I got it. My ears itching. All right. So this is William Cooper, They Murdered. Okay? Behold a Pale Horse. Ooh. All right. Now, you remember we were talking about how they set up the system to rob you, to put you in debt, to which you can never be in debt with a dollar that's worth shit. That's how they keep robbing you and keep you in this flailing state, wanting to pay rent. Gotta buy your baby this. Your girl want to go out and eat some garbage food and all that other dumb stuff. And when you can actually be on the land, help with assistance in paying for lumber and nails, rebar, and concrete. That's right, everybody chipping in and doing the work to build. But y'all so lazy. Anyway, let me go ahead and get into it. This reading is kind of hard here because this is what's called static photograph of the real letter. So it's not like, you know, when I'm reading this stuff where you can actually read, okay? It's kind of hard on the eyes. I terminated my business in England about 1978. Soon afterwards, I was terminated from being an individual with whom anyone could conduct business in England. Excuse me. This is the story of Jonathan May. My apologies. So again, I terminated my business in England in about 1978. Soon afterwards, I was terminated from being an individual with whom anyone could conduct business in England with. As a result of the of the warped and crippled mind of a banker and his stooge. I was invited to America by American strangers from Texas. They have their own horror stories to tell now. They never will, though, and their lives are at stake if they do. Suffice it to say that they, Mr. John Connolly, since bankrupted, and Governor Clements, now about to be ousted by the same forces, the Shah of Iran, whose illness became authentic only after arriving in protective custody at a United States Air Force base. Let me say that again. The Shah of Iran, whose illness became authentic only after arriving in protective custody at a United States Air Force base, a German banker, also assassinated by persons trained in British Honduras, and an Austrian industrialist, now pronounced insane, were all involved in the silver fiasco. And why? The properly authenticate Texan and U.S. currency backed with 37.1 1/4 grain of silver per ounce as the unparalleled money of account laws decree. Now, I learned these true horror stories after I had rejoiced in my now proven to have been assassinating belief in the United States Constitution. On June 18, 1986, in my recorded capacity as sole signator of record for the International Equity Trust, in its lawful capacity of sole trustee or record for the 3.999 other trusts, grandfathered under as subtrust of an authentic trust established when only the law of force of arms existed on the North American continent. What kind of crazy bat-wing shit? Now you gotta remember the liberals and the conservatives play a part in this, of course. Trust which trust which wholly supersedes taxation. So the trust which wholly supersedes taxation anywhere, I signed an agreement constituting obligations of contract. I knew that could not be impaired. Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1 of your Constitution decrees it. The International Equity Trust so purchased that bank holding company authorized to extend credit nationally and internationally, not for itself, but for 40 trustees. None of the other 39 of which had any idea that the others were likewise buying, thereby defeating the Federal Reserve's controlling policy to obtain its permission to so purchase. Now, one of those 40 trusts was the Sovereign Trust of North America. As a matter of public record recorded, that's why if police do bad, you don't go and sue them by the state, you sue them, you go after that trust. Recorded under the provisions of Article 4, Section 1, which mandates such fact to be given full faith and credit. Now, the beneficiaries of the Sovereign Trust of North America include the United States Congress, each state of the Union's government, and the body politics. That means they've been hijacked, so you see how they're keeping it circling their way, to which really has no meaning whatsoever but the subjugation of y'all in different statuses and classes. We, the people of the United States, which is not America, other trust beneficiaries are other non-communist governments. Yet the liberal and this conservative one is of Marxism. Okay? Note, please examine public records numbers 24011094. Again, you can Google this. Please examine public record number 94011094 and 24063334. Again, 24063334. Okay? In Ramsey County, Minnesota, about 300 pages. If you are told that no such record exists, please contact the undersigned, who will inform you where preserved certified copies thereof are located. Damn, I didn't know it got so late so fast, y'all. I was like, God dog. I was like, oh shit, I'm supposed to be reading. Let me finish my tea. Just the last few drops. I got another squalor in there. Let's get into Heaven Birds. Oh, I know y'all been like, wait a minute, you got us on the roll, you done broke it up. Oh, just remember. Yes, Janine Helen. Yes, part 3. I'll be having it soon. Okay. The sky was on fire. Goodness, here they go. They go and mess with the thing. The sky was on fire. He could see literal flames of fire licking through the sky, followed by massive balls of glowing red stone. Is this what a meteorite shower? Put one up. Make sure I'm still on. My apologies, because whenever they do that, it's either hijacking or playing or messing with something. Just throw one up there. That's all. And I know that you're here. Let me make sure I got all messages. It shouldn't take long to hit one, if you don't mind. Oops, I hit the wrong thing. Could y'all hit one? Thank you, Marcus. I appreciate that. I guess it's cute. Oh, Mike, thank you. I know it takes a little time to come through. Appreciate that. Just want to make sure you guys were here. Okay, let's get back into it. Got you, Marcus. Thank you. James B. What's going on? Appreciate it, beloved. I know they're going to keep rolling in. Sharon Wilson, thank you, hon. Thank you. T. Hines, beloved, you already know. Tara Jones, thank you. Thank you. All right, let's get it in. Now, the sky was on fire. Lizard-like people and whatnot. Okay. Now, the sky was on fire. He could see literal flames of fire licking through the sky, followed by massive balls of glowing red stone. Is this what a meteorite shower was like? He questioned. He wondered and he knew there was no escaping certain death. He remains calm and notices that the other people around him were calm too. They merely stared up into the sky, waiting patiently for their end to come. Cole walks back to the big willow tree and sits back down with his back against it. Propping himself up comfortably, his time was almost up and he was going to enjoy the show. The glowing balls of fire strike almost all at once. There were no big bangs and explosions. The vegetation and people evaporated almost instantly before they were hit, and within seconds the entire garden was engulfed in orange flames, a sea of fire. Its waves flowing evenly across the garden made sure that nothing survived. It sounds like some kind of weird form of the napalm, doesn't it? Cole was not immune. He felt this. His body get hot, and the liquid blood and water flowing through his body started to boil and then turned to dust. He felt no pain and watched as his body broke away from itself until it was completely gone. He expected everything to go dark and then black, but his soul was still there, and he could feel the heat radiate all around him. Am I in hell? He wondered, looking around him, hoping to see the white light so he could get out of here. No white light came to save him, and he started to panic. Hello, he calls out. Is there somebody out there? That sounds like Pink Floyd. Hello, is there anyone out there? No, anyway, okay, all right, let me keep going. That's funny. He did that. You're pretty good there, Janine. Anyway, there was no answer, just the licking of the flames. That means the beating or whipping. I want to leave now. I'd really like to go back to my old life, if possible. And then he jokes about it. Cole says, a voice of sweet and pure. Cole says a voice of sweet and pure, and he knows it. Senses. It should have said senses. Cole, the voice repeats, and he opens his eyes. Jenny, baby, I'm here. Where are you? I can't see you, he replies, looking. I turned the internet off because the faggots want to play, okay? Anyway, let's get back into it. My apologies. I didn't know if it went out. Hello, he calls out. Is there somebody out there? There was no answer, just the licking of the flames, which means beating, whipping up. I want to leave now. I'd really like to go back to my old life, if possible, he jokes. Cole, says Cole, in the female, says a voice so sweet and pure, and he knows it. Cole, the voice repeats, and he opens his eyes. Jenny, baby, I'm here. Where are you? I can't see you, he replies, looking all around him for any sight of her. All he can see is white, but it isn't any light. I don't know where you are, but I need you to come back now. I need you to wake up, the woman sobs. Jenny, I am coming, baby. Keep talking so I can follow your voice. He looks all around him, trying to find the origin of her voice. Then he realizes it is coming from behind him. He turns around, doing a quick 180 degrees, and the space before him turns from white to gray. He feels pressure on his right hand. It's warm and familiar, and realizing it's her touch, he reaches out his hand into the nothingness and tries to grab a hold of her. Jenny, he calls out, I can feel you, baby, and I'm coming home. He takes a deep breath, closes his eyes, and lets his body fall into the nothingness, knowing he will see her on the other side. We'll be reading chapter 5 tomorrow, I guarantee you, because this is where I didn't read this. I read the part right there, and I was like, I better read it, because I want to get into chapter 5. Because now we're dealing with an enemy who is well hidden. Do you see the importance of pale horse, silent weapons, quiet weapons for silent wars? Well, the enemy that they beat off in the last book, if you're paying attention, well, he's got some tricks up his sleeve. Are they? War is more than one. Remember, I have a book custodians haven't read yet. I read you the one small custodians where the guy is injured, but he's being questioned in UK by certain police and psychologists, female, and he knows everything they're going to ask him. But when you really know about the custodians, based on what's his name's the 4 books, I think it's 4 or 5, as far as flat Earth, you know what I'm saying, beyond the ice walls. Claudio Nacelli's, you starting to see, be able to, and even the Iron World, you're starting to be able to paint a picture. Do you see where it's all flowing? It's like if you're going to read Wars of the Anunnaki, this, that, and other, and the Emerald Tablets, you better be reading the Hathor Mators, and you better be reading about the old voodoo witches and the Creoles of Louisiana and Haiti. See, these things all tie in together. And what is it they want you to not do? They don't want you dancing and juking unless it makes no sense. And it's even though it's rhythm, it's unharmonic. And most of the people, all that stuff in church, that is like being electrocuted. There's nothing good about it. But when you get together and you start moving in synchronicity, and it's not about ego stroking, but it's in the quiet or in the darkness, with men in the abode of night, with women in the abode of the morning star. What you're capable to do, what you're capable and able to do, is phenomenal. You see the people who can't even hang on. Like I said, they're not going to stop a goddamn thing. They can run around in their madness and raising their children to be beasts of Bastion. So when they get in the military, they have no emotions or feelings. You better believe they do. It's you who should not have no emotions or feelings, and you really don't. You're just acting on impulses. And it's easy to say you're acting upon feelings and emotions. No, your impulses are just misdirected because you have no woman, no man, for lack of better terms, who are nurturing it to allow you to know your strengths and when you need to allow it to explode. Eye for an eye, turn the other cheek, my ass. It's a symposium of influential bad harmonies playing, and y'all are all listening to them. You gotta stop. But do you see how the books are all tying in to lay out a picture? I tapped into ESPN in 11th grade, activating chakras back then. Don't advise for the weak or feeble. Not at all. Not at all. And guidance is very important, especially with the few here who actually know. But you can't be scary, people. Oh, this is a book I'm going to read too with Atlantis. The giants, because I got like 12 or 15 books on giants in North America and the world. And that way now you have a better understanding of what Himalayan pink crystal salt is. It ain't sea salt, people. I know they showed you that sea where they go and harvest that certain salt in the Black Sea or whatever, where they can kill you and you can float on like laying on a wall. There's a reason why nothing lives in it, why it's dead. Now they created a narrative which is false. And there's many black holes on Earth. You should know these things. It's within you. It is. Okay? Anyway, I appreciate you guys. I'm going to have to eat them damn eggs and then get another steak ready. Don't get me doing a hand with your eyes still closed. He just knows it's me, y'all. He's like this. Looking all retarded. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. It's always respect. And we're eternally bonded. You got my Cash App. I turned the notifications off. If you donated, I appreciate it. And the only notification I'm getting is from Telegram. And I got 2 videos to upload. I got to splice them together. And it's only for educational purposes. I'll put a little thing on the thumbnail so you know that I'm not saying it's the truth or not. You have a look at it and then please share. I do check your comments. I go into which squad and I look at your comments. If you ask something I don't understand, I'll put a question mark. So always go back. If you responded, go back and see if I either hit and like and love or the heart emoji, whatever that means. But anyway, it means from the center of my thoughts, for those who don't know that. And look if I respond. And if I don't, that means I'm probably going to talk about it, or I have something where I've already shared some little knowledge about it. All right? And somebody said, one of them says, stop being humble, man. You know a lot. No, I know exactly what I'm supposed to know. Just like the ones who are doing genocide would have been groomed and conditioned to do what they're doing. If they actually knew themselves and knew the truth, they would stop. But they don't. All right? Anyway, I appreciate you guys. Remember, I'm not here to stop nothing. It's not because I can. I'm just not here to stop. That's not what I'm here for. When I accepted who I was, I knew I had to share some information. That's it. Balance. If I was here to stop some shit, you think I'd be on friggin' YouTube? Think I'd be living right here? And you know how easy it is for me to get people to follow me out here in the physical world? It is so friggin' easy. I'm not the preacher down in Jim Jones. I'm not hell, but I don't want nobody. I would like to see people come together and have balance and do it through struggle. You got to go through some pressure to break free and see what you accomplish, even in the down things, to check yourself so your feelings and emotions don't cause you to squabble for nothing when you could be using that time to build a better, rectify something that didn't work the first time. I shouldn't have to say that to so-called adults, but I hope you get that. Yes. I hope that makes sense. And if you got to, listen to that part, go to the end and listen again. Maybe it'll make sense. So anyway, I'm gonna open the door and let him back out. It's gotten a little too cool in here for me right now. It's at 75 degrees. That's just too cool for me, guys. Yeah. I'm turning that off. I'm actually gonna turn the fan off. Right now, I'm too cool. I don't like feeling like that. I like to feel the heat on my body. Go outside in the sun. All right, put my tank top on and get that steak, that ribeye going. All right? So I appreciate you guys. We'll check the post office tomorrow. You know what I mean? So again, I hope it was a good read. I hope you enjoyed it. And we will read tomorrow. I promise you. All right? Ladies, you are the power. Men, don't get upset with your low effeminate selves. Get that shit out of you, because that's not who you are. Women are the power. Men, you are the sheave, the housing. You are the strength that protects that fucking power. No one is over anyone. There's a balance. The power, the strength. Do you fucking get it? Without one, you can't have the other. You should see that now, how everybody's running around talking crazy about each other. You're supposed to be making some goddamn babies. All right? Decomposed giants. You got it, AP. You got it. Exactly. And there were no goddamn dinosaurs. There were titan of animals, giant tortoises. Hell, tortoises can live forever. Crocodiles, snakes over 100 feet. I'm serious. Some of them still live. Remember when they were fake same Jews was talking about there ain't no giant squids and octopuses. Look at what they've been pulling up, man. Things like damn near over 5 stories big. You talking about you want to eat calamari and squid? No, man, y'all better shut up. Leave them things alone. Anyway, appreciate you guys. I'll see y'all tomorrow AM, roughly around 10. All right.